Good afternoon, everyone. Call to order this meeting of the Thompson-Nicola Regional District for February 20th, 2025. The TNRD acknowledges that we connect with many First Nations across our vast regional district, and today we are located on the Tk'emlúps-te-Secwépemc territory, situated within the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwépemc Nation. The TNRD appreciates the partnership that we have with Tk'emlúps-te-Secwépemc, and we respect the territory and land on which we gather today. Please welcome alternate directors Noni McCann, who is here for Director O'Connor, and alternate director Nancy Bepple, who is here for Director Newstater. Director Grenier is online. Director Hall is not here. And Director Hall, Director Karpuk is not here. I'm sorry. Yeah, get the records. The record has been duly straightened. And I would like to welcome here in person, Director Scott Kershaw is here for the District of Barrier. He was online last time, so he wanted to come and see us all in person. And we have from Sun Peaks, we have Acting Mayor Len Ryken, who is here. Welcome. And also, just while I am noting people, congratulations to Director David Laird, who was married. He missed Valentine's Day by one day, but he was married on Saturday, February 15th at the Murray United Church, which we all visited in the beautiful Nicola Valley last year. So congratulations to Director Laird. So we have an update from the Thompson-Nicola Regional Library, which is delighted to announce its 2025 One Book, One Community selection, a new season by acclaimed Canadian fiction writer Terry Fallis. You will find some information about that in your blue folder. With its poignant themes of aging, loss, and connection, this bestseller will bring our regional district communities together through reading and discussion. Mr. Fallis will head a number of events, including writing workshops throughout the TNRD throughout spring 2025. So be sure to pick up a copy from the library or your local bookstore and check the TNRL website for details of when he will be doing events and sessions at local libraries throughout the region. I would like to congratulate our colleague, Electoral Area O Director Jill Hayward, for being awarded the King Charles III Coronation Medal. Jill does not like to be in the spotlight, but I'm going to put her there regardless. So the Coronation Medal commemorates those who have made a significant contribution to Canada or to a particular region within Canada. Jill was one of several area residents who were given this honor or who had this honor bestowed upon them by MP Frank Caputo during a ceremony in Kamloops last month. Jill is a longtime past president and current board member of the North Thompson Fall Fair and Rodeo Association. She is the Raise a Reader Literacy and Outreach Coordinator for Barrier and Area and has been a board member on many other local organizations. So congratulations to Director Hayward on this very well-deserved honor. So feedback survey, you might have seen a bit about this online. The TNRD has indeed launched a communications feedback survey in order to gather public input about how residents of the TNRD interact with the regional district and how they would like to receive information about local government initiatives. Important to note that this is for electoral area residents and for municipal residents of the TNRD as well. Now, the survey itself is open until March 10th. There are 13 questions. Most of them are multiple choice, and I can tell you from personal experience, it will take you less than 5 minutes to complete this survey. Information received in this survey is going to help TNRD staff continue to assess and improve upon its communication methods. So board members are encouraged to share this survey with their constituents. It can be taken online at tnrd.ca/surveys. Residents can also call the communications department in order to request a paper copy. Upcoming meetings and events, get ready, there's a lot. March 5th, Thompson-Nicola Invasive Plant Management Committee. On the 6th of March, Parks and Trails Standing Committee and a regular board meeting. On the 26th of March, we have the Boundary Review Committee and the Policy and Governance Committee. On the 27th, we have Electoral Area Directors Committee and regular board meeting. And on March the 28th, we have the Committee of the Whole. Now, if you are intending or are scheduled to attend any of these following conferences, please advise Livia of your anticipated travel requirements as soon as possible because we've got some deadlines looming. We have the Municipal Finance Authority 2025 Annual General Meeting in Victoria, April 23rd, 24th. We have the SILGA Convention, which is in beautiful Merritt, April 29th to May 2nd. And we have Federation of Canadian Municipalities at the Rogers Centre in Ottawa, May 29th to June 1st. So today in your blue folders, you'll find regular mail, a copy of several resolutions for SILGA in Merritt. And just in the event of an emergency, if the fire alarm sounds, please leave by the safest exit doors, either at the rear of the room or towards the main entrance. Go down the staircase, exit the building, and assemble in the staff car parking lot at the rear of the Paramount Theatre. Please do not run or use the elevators. And if you have issues with mobility, please advise Corporate Officer Jeremiah. All right, are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda? Seeing none, we have the minutes of the regular board meeting held on January 23rd. Vice Chair Smith, seconded by Director Morris. Thank you. Are there any errors or omissions? And just a reminder, Director Grenier, we do need to hear your vote verbally when it comes to a vote on a motion. All those in favor?
Yay.
None opposed. That is carried. All right, we move on to delegations, invited presentations. We have item 6.1, building infraction stop work order, Pressy Lake. Is there anyone here to speak to this item? No? No one online? All right, item 6.2, building infraction on Tingley Street in Savannah. Anyone here to speak to this item? Item 7.1, building infraction stop work order, Pressy Lake Road. We do have a recommendation.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Director Middleton, seconded by Director Blackwell. Is there any discussion on this? No questions or comments? On the question, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Item 7.2, stop work order, building infraction, Tingley Street in Savannah. There's a recommendation. Director Thorpe moves that. Director Smith seconds that. Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. 8.1, zoning amendment bylaw number 2862, no civic address, Red Lake, BC. It was Director Sarai. Thank you. Anyone second that? Second by, okay, Director Hall. Thank you. Any discussion? On the question, then all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? Carried. 8.2, zoning amendment bylaw number 2866 in Pritchard. Director Haughton, thank you. Seconded by Director Thorpe. Any discussion on this item? Adopting this? No. On the question, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Item 8.3, zoning amendment bylaw number 2868, Rue Cheval Noir in Tobiano.
Chair, I'd like to declare conflict, and I think they've got a method to take me offline.
All right, thank you very much. Director O'Reilly has moved the recommendation. Vice Chair Smith has seconded it. Discussion. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Kraus, who is here, eager and anxious to take all your questions on it? But thank you for the very comprehensive report. No questions or comments? On the question, then, all those in favor? Is anyone opposed? That is carried. I'll just give Director Grenier a moment to get out of the virtual waiting room back to the virtual meeting. And I think we might have to ask him to step out because I just turned the page and realized that there are two recommendations here and we have actually only moved one. Is that correct?
Let's go
Oh,
quick,
okay.
all the waiting room.
Okay, quickly. Okay, we have the zoning amendment bylaw number 2868. Okay, thank you. Move to Director Blackwell, seconded by Director Middleton. Discussion. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. All right. Phew. We good to continue with Director Grenier? Awesome, thank you. 8.4 zoning amendment bylaw number 2869. We have two recommendations here. Director Ranta, thank you very much. Seconded by Director Getz. All right, discussion on recommendation 1, which is reading the bylaw for first and second time. You've got something on recommendation 2, okay? So anyone have any questions or comments on the first recommendation? On the question, then, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. We have a second recommendation.
Move to.
Director O'Reilly, thank you. Director Ranta seconds that. And Director Bepple, you have a question on recommendation number 2.
Thanks. Through to staff. The covenant is put on before the public hearing. So if the public hearing is not successful, would the covenant be discharged?
Through the chair, yes. I think in good faith, we would then remove that covenant.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments on recommendation number 2? On the question, then, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. 8.5, we have 3 recommendations regarding the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy bylaw number 2871. Director Blackwell, thank
Second.
you. Vice Chair Smith. This is first and second reading on this bylaw. Does anyone have any questions or comments at this time? All right, on the question, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? Carried.
Move to.
Vice Chair Smith, second by Director Ranta. Discussion? All those in favor?
Yay.
Is anyone opposed? Carried. Number 3. Director Middleton, seconded by Director Thorpe. Questions or comments on adoption? All those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? Carried. 8.6 Corporate Information and Electronic Records Management bylaw number 2872. We once again have 3 recommendations. Vice Chair Smith, seconded by Director Morris. Any questions or comments on introduction and first and second reading? All those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That's carried. Second recommendation. Sorry, who was that? Director Sarai, thank you. Seconded by Director Smith. Questions, comments? All those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? Carried. And the third. Director Ranta, seconded by Director Blackwell. Any questions or comments before this is adopted? All those in favor?
Yay.
Opposed? That is carried. 8.7, Development Procedures Bylaw number 2385 regarding planning application fees. We once again have a trifecta of recommendations. Director Thorpe, thank you very much. Seconded by Director Stankey. All right, discussion on first and second reading. Does anyone have any questions or comments? And thank you to staff for their diligent work on updating. Anytime I see fees have not been updated since my son was in elementary school, I think it's probably time, but Director Blackwell.
Yeah, just noting in here that this work is already done, but the expansion from 150 meters to 300 meters, the parcels over 10 hectares. Yeah, I just it suddenly dawned on me that we have seen far fewer objections because public have been notified because of the signage than we did the first term I was on, where it just seemed to come up all the time. So this is great to see a problem solved, so we don't see it so often. So yeah, excellent work to staff of doing that previously.
Any other questions or comments? On the motion, all those in favor? Oh, sorry, alternate Director Bepple.
Just in terms of fees, is there any chance of collecting fees on buildings that we've got stop work orders on? So we do have a stop work order on a number of properties, but they never submitted to do the work. Is there any chance that we can add fees for that?
Through the chair, so building permit related fees are in the building bylaw. That's not being reviewed at this time. There are double permit fee penalties in the building bylaw if somebody comes in for a building permit after the fact. But on your question directly, if we issue a stop work order and a notice goes on title, like earlier in this meeting, that is the penalty. That is kind of the end of it for the process. There's no way to, well, we could issue tickets for violation of the building bylaw, but in the past, the board has said that the notice on title is kind of the final punishment for works without a permit. So I'm not really sure where we would have additional fees or penalties. And again, if people come in after the fact to then remove the notice, then there would be double permit fees.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? On the question, then all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Oh, sorry, that was recommendation number 1. Recommendation number 2. Director Middleton, thank you. Vice Chair Smith seconds that. Any questions or comments on third reading? All those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? Carried. And we have a third recommendation. Director Sarai, thank you. Director Hall? Questions before adoption? All those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. 9.1, we have a temporary use permit application for Electoral Area J, specifically Cherry Creek Mobile Home Park. We do have a staff recommendation. Director Sarai, thank you. Director Thorpe seconds that. All right, discussion on item 9.1. Director Blackwell?
Yeah, I'm gonna, because of the work that's been done by the proponent here, I am gonna vote in favor of this, but in general, I'm not really in favor of TUPs like this on trailer parks and that sort of thing, because they end up generally biting us at the other end where we're the bad guys when the TUP ends and things need to be moved on to the next phase, which usually means removing these things. So I would prefer not to do these kind of things, but in this particular case, they have done such a good job in management of this so far, but I caution against this sort of thing.
Thank you. And I think I mentioned this the last time, something like this very similar came up, and I would like to thank staff and praise them for the extraordinary attention to detail and for making it crystal clear that this is an issue around RVs that is not going to go away, and in fact is something that we are going to be dealing with more and more in the future. And I think that we are at the risk of blowing our own horn, showing how to do it correctly. Because this is not going anywhere, and this is something that we are going to be we and subsequent boards are going to be wrestling with. So thank you to staff for giving us all such a solid background on which to build. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, Director Sal?
Thank you, Chair. Adding to that, the last case of a TUP in the trailer park for RV year-round living was in Blackpool, I believe, in Area A. And just sharing with staff some of the feedback from the community after that decision. Obviously, we've had, both sides, residents who are pro affordability. And then there's also residents actually during the election who, approached me and discussed their concerns about, of opens, sewage and whatnot. And the fact that they have not escalated their complaints after we've approved this TUP for Blackpool is I believe that's a buy-in from the public in the way that we're managing it. So thank you for doing that. Thank you.
Director Getz?
Quick question. We're going through a situation in Merritt where we had 31 homes that were installed, mobile homes, on a temporary use through the provincial government. We're coming to an end on that, and we have 15 families refusing now to leave. They've all now turned to residential tenancy branch board. Is that something we could see here? This is going to cost us nothing but money. Can we possibly see this here when the TUP ends, they go to residential tenancy board and decide they're not leaving? And the next thing you know, we're spending money and everything else to try and fix this issue. It's what we're coming across right now. Met with our lawyers last night, and it's going to cost some money. So I'm just wondering, I'm kind of agree with Director Blackwell that we need to maybe tighten that up a little bit more, that this never goes to residential tenancy branch because it can cause issues.
Through the chair, yeah, it's a good question. And in this case, it's a one manufactured home park property that's owned by one kind of general operator. So if the permit expires, or when the permit expires, we would be going back after the owner of the park. It would then be an obligation of the park owner to follow all the rules under the Residential Tenancy Act. And that's where I could see, and we have seen in similar cases, even without a TUP, even when we just do general enforcement, where the owner says, okay, I want to comply, but I can't control my tenants and I need to go through this process. But even in those situations that we've just had to give the owner enough time to be able to go through all the steps. It's not that they refuse to leave forever. It's that it may be drawn out in a lengthy battle that we might have to wait out. But let's use the alternative. Let's say this TUP is not approved, and let's say that the park owner this one hasn't, but others simply allow the RVs to be there, and we get a complaint, we'd be in the exact same position because we'd be asking them to leave and they may have rights under the Tenancy Act.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, on the question then, all those in favor?
Yay.
Is anyone opposed? Director Getz? Anyone else opposed? That is carried. Item 9.2, Heritage Conservation Application for 70 Mile House. Director Smith, thank you. Anyone like to second that? Director Sal, thank you very much. Anyone have any questions or comments on this motion? Awesome. All right, on the motion then, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That's carried. And I would actually like to ask CAO Hildebrand about directing staff to prepare an information fact sheet about our Heritage Register so that that can be circulated throughout the regional district, because there are multitudes of historic sites and properties throughout the TNRD. And I can see that being quite an economic boost, being able to produce, say, a pamphlet or website page about all these heritage register sites because people really like that sort of thing. And I can see people wanting to visit them all, especially if there are attractive plaques identifying exactly what they're looking like. So would you be able to do that, CAO Hildebrand?
Through Chair Roden, to the board, we can absolutely do that. Mr. Davies has already responded to me saying he's on it. So all good.
I expect to see that by the end of this meeting. So he's,
Be careful what you wish.
The,
for. It
the-
might happen.
the clock is ticking. All right, item 10.1.1, we have a verbal report from CAO Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair Roden, and good afternoon, Board of Directors. I just have a few updates I'd like to provide the board, and then Mr. Kelly has also got a couple as well. So first, the staff update. I'm pleased to announce that Jenny Abramczyk, the library's manager of Discovery and Support Services, has worked very hard in attaining her certificate in public library leadership by the University of Toronto. With a cohort of over 40 individuals from major urban libraries, public libraries across Canada. This 15-month program examined topics such as HR development, team building, resource management, governance, and advocacy. So congratulations to Jenny on that. Number two, I'm excited to share a Lytton partnership that we are reviving. So we're in the process of finalizing an agreement with the Village of Lytton to reestablish limited building inspection service for the village. The TNRD historically provided building inspection services by contract to the village, but didn't have the resources to manage a community rebuild. Staff are excited to reestablish this partnership and provide support with remote plan checking. It'll also give our staff an opportunity to try out the new digital permit review software, which local governments are starting to use now for building permits. So that'll be rolling out in the very near future. And then third and finally, I just have an OCP update. Staff recently published a What We Heard report summarizing the extensive feedback we received during our 2 OCP projects. The one was in areas L and P and the other was in areas M and N. The findings are now informing planning staff as they draft the OCP policy and meet with external agencies. Plans are now underway for a second round of public engagement in May, and we've communicated that to the individual EA directors, and you'll start to see that publicly. What You Heard report for Tobiano land use planning public engagement has also been posted on our website recently. Staff will be preparing a summary report for the board to decide whether any next steps should be taken. If you have any questions for me, perhaps ask that at the end here, and we can maybe pass over to Mr. Kelly to provide an update on BC Transit and advocacy tour that we are planning right now.
Yeah, thank you, CEO Hildebrand. Just two things from me to update the board on this afternoon. As it was directed by the board to invite BC Transit staff to tour the region and as well to come as a delegation to this board. There were some staffing changes. The contact that we were dealing with was simply covering a maternity leave for the manager of this area for BC Transit. So that manager is now back, Ms. White, and she will be coming for a tour of the region and appearing before the March 28th Committee of the Whole meeting. So we're looking forward to welcoming Ms. White and hearing an update from BC Transit as it relates to ongoing plans for the Thompson-Nicola region. And lastly, for me, I'm very excited to announce that we have been working hard to secure an advocacy tour. So this is taking our advocacy beyond UBCM, which is something that I've been harping on for the last 2 years nearly that I've been with this organization. But March 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Chair Roden, myself, and CAO Hildebrand will be in Victoria to have 4 meetings. One meeting jointly with the ministers of transportation and transit, as well as public safety and the Solicitor General, relating to highway safety in the region, as well as a meeting with the Minister of Agriculture and Food to discuss the Agricultural Land Commission. A meeting with Municipal Affairs, which is to be confirmed, but we are hopeful that we will have that by the end of this week, to discuss small water utility system funding. And finally, a joint meeting between the Ministry of Forests and Emergency Management to discuss egress routes. And like I mentioned, these meetings are to discuss the TNRD's key advocacy topics that we've been bringing forward to to UBCM for the last 2 years, but wanting to really dive deep into them with the minister and get some commitments. So with that, I'll stop for questions.
All right, Director Smith, Director Haughton, Director Sarai.
Thank you, Chair. Just wondering if the agenda is totally set for your Victoria meeting, and if it isn't, I'd really appreciate if the speed issue for Highway 97 could be addressed with Minister Farnworth. Thank you.
Director Haughton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, Corbin, if you could find time in your slot with Minister Farnsworth to advocate for, I know before the last election, MLA Stone did quite a bit of work on a plan to fix up the Kamloops end of Highway 5A to make it safer for the traveling public, whether it be commercial vehicles or whether it be the residents along the way. And I know the whole project was a big ticket item, but one of the things that he did identify and the local staff has gone to work on and is a chain on, chain off area on the northbound lane of Cardew Hill. At present, those big trucks have nowhere to pull over to put chains on, and anytime we have a storm, Highway 5A is shut down. So if you could advocate for the chain on, chain off area, it's one part of the project that would help make it a safer place. They have identified the area locally, but like everything else, no funding. So if Ministry of Transportation still wants to keep commercial traffic on that highway, I'd appreciate them starting to make it a little safer. And if you could advocate that, thank you.
Thank you. Director Sarai.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just on the transit piece, you mentioned that the regular staffers coming back. We had presentations before us from the service providers in our region of their concerns. So are we bringing those concerns forward, or will this staff member be meeting with those service providers before or after our meeting?
Yeah, thank you. And through the chair, our expectation is to share the concerns of the board. And we would leave it up to BC Transit to be responsible for meeting with other service providers and making sure that they're aware of their concerns. Of course, I think we would invite, directors to share their concerns that they're aware of, but it is our expectation that BC Transit would be the ones to communicate directly with those service providers.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for either Mr. Kelly or CAO Hildebrand? No more? All right, we move on to 10.1.2, 2025 SILGA Convention sponsorship. Oh,
Conflict of
sorry.
interest. I'm on the SILGA board. I'm just going to step away.
Oh, okay, sorry. And Director Sarai, I
Yeah,
believe.
Chair, same here. I'm on
Same
the
thing.
SILGA board. I think it'd be a conflict, so I'll recuse myself.
All right, second by Director Haughton, moved by Director Ranta. So recommendation, and just a note that this, we are going to be asking once again, as we did with Kamloops, to sponsor the opening night reception, which will be on the Wednesday evening. It's taking place at the Nicola Valley Institute of Technology, and that is a dry facility. So they have promised some craft non-alcoholic cocktails and samples from local areas. So that's going to be, I think, very nice. Your mileage may vary, but
You need a mover on that?
no, it's already moved and seconded.
I was talking about the non-alcoholic beer. 'Cause
Oh, okay. All right, on the question then, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. We move on to item 10.1.3, SILGA Convention Resolutions. We have actually 4 recommendations coming under this section. We have a 4th one, which is in your blue folder, which was submitted by Director Sarai. Director Sarai?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the resolution in your folder, I would like to make an amendment to the resolution here to add that to the SILGA resolution, UBCM resolution. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to submit all 4 resolutions to SILGA. Do we have a mover for that? Director Getz, seconded by Director Stanky. Thank you. All right. So any discussion on this? Director Sarai's resolution does pertain to the TNRD, and I believe it was too late if he waited for a Kamloops City Council meeting to get it in by the deadline, so he's doing it through the TNRD, but it does apply to this board as well. The CAO Hildebrand or Ms. Jeremiah, Corporate Officer Jeremiah, over to you.
Thank you. It might be best to have Director Sarai read out the resolution, just for the public to have as well.
Madam
Good.
Chair,
Director Sarai?
get my other glasses on.
Did you go to Specsavers?
I'm going to Specsavers. I don't have to do the whereas, it's just a therefore. Is that fine? Therefore, be resolved that through the Southern Interior Local Government Association, UBCM, and the TNRD requests that the Ministry of Transportation and Transit investigate whether driver training standards are satisfactory and rigorous, including for Class 1 and 3 licensing, air brake endorsement, and mandatory entry-level training requirements. This is to increase in-class and on-the-road training to meet a higher standard and reach a level of safety that the traveling public should expect from professional drivers, and at MOTT increase highway enforcement, and to investigate and report publicly on the enforcement actions taken against commercial transport trucks by BC Highway Patrol, the Commercial Vehicle Safety and Enforcement Branch, RCMP, and other agencies if applicable.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments on any of these resolutions? All right, look forward to them coming up at SILGA and hearing their various proposers stand up to explain to everyone else why these are important issues for the entire region. All right, on the question then, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. Item 10.1.4 is for information only. That is the strategic plan progress update. Anyone have any questions on this? Questions or comments? Thank you for encapsulating our discussion. All right, item 10.1.5, board remuneration, and I would like to move that the board approve January 1st, 2025 annual change to remuneration at 2.6%, representing CPI for the year 2024. Second by Director Blackwell. Thank you very much. Discussion. Anyone have any questions or comments? No? All right, on the question then, one last chance, third and final call for questions or comments. All right, on the question, all those in favor?
Yay.
Is anyone opposed? Director Ranta? No one else opposed? That is carried. 10.1.6, this is again for information only, Economic Trust of the Southern Interior. And for those of us in NDIT who might not know what ETSI stands for, committee appointments, this is for information only. Congratulations to Director Sao, and congratulations to Director Blackwell for returning. And look forward to hearing from you and also to seeing ETSI at SILGA. Gosh, we do talk in acronyms, don't we? It's all right, 10.1.7, proposed fire protection service for Tobiano and Cherry Creek. We do have a recommendation. Director Haughton, thank you very much. Seconded by Director Smith. Any discussion on this item to initiate a public assent process for the establishment of a new fire protection service for the communities of Tobiano and Cherry Creek? Any discussion on this? All right, thank you very much. On the question, all those in favor?
Yay.
Is anyone opposed? That is carried. 10.1.8 Fire Dispatch Services Contract Award. Director Morris, you're moving that? Okay. All right, Director Morris jumped the gun. Who would like to make this motion? Director Stankey, seconded by Director Getz. Director Morris, do you have a comment on this?
Thank you. Just a quick question. The fire dispatch services, the radius that it does cover, it's outside of the city of Kamloops as well. Is that correct?
I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Vieira, who had his hand in the air.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Yes, the contract covers all of the existing fire protection areas within the TNRD. So that includes municipal fire departments, First Nation fire departments, the TNRD departments, and some improvement district run departments as well.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? On the question then, all those in favor?
Yay.
Is anyone opposed? That is carried. Item 10.1.9 Aberdeen Tiny Library Operating Budget. We do have one recommendation with two parts which can be done together. Would anyone like to move the recommendation? Director Blackwell, seconded by Director Hayward. Thank you very much. Any discussion on this? No questions or comments? All right, looks like the Aberdeen Tiny Library is not going to be quite so tiny in terms of hours at least. I guess there's not much we can do about the square footage. All right, anything you want to say? Library Head Moore?
Thank you, Chair Roden, and through to the board. Absolutely delighted to be here this afternoon. This is our long-awaited opportunity to create opportunities for library services in Southwest until such time as a permanent solution comes forward. So what you have in front of you is an operating budget that includes a 3-year lease, 2 permanent staff positions, and a small operating budget. So once again, once a permanent Southwest Library has been developed, recommendations regarding the Aberdeen Tiny Library will come back to the board, and a decision will be made then. It's been an enormous success. It opened its doors in November 2023, and probably is our highest circulation per square foot in the system, but perhaps in all of British Columbia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions or comments? Director O'Reilly.
Thank you. I look forward to supporting the recommendation, but I think Manager Moore, and to your staff and your team for being innovative and getting us here. This wasn't something that just came up overnight and you said, let's do a tiny library. This has been years in the making and the success is there. So congratulations to you and your team, and thank you for your perseverance and ensuring that literacy is being able to be shared with people up in the Southwest, and really not asking people to come to you. We've taken the library to the people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? On the question then, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. We have the building permit activity for January report. Does anyone have any questions on that? No, we move along to committees. 11.1 Electoral Area Directors Committee, and we do have a recommendation arising from that committee. Director Laird, thank you. Director Graham seconds that. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the electoral area grant and aid? Corporate Officer Jeremiah.
Austin will be speaking to this item. There's just a small amendment that was made at the Electoral Area Directors Committee that wasn't included into this updated report.
There is one small section on the wording of the over under 500 where we have an inconsistency in whether it's over in one section and whether it includes 500 or doesn't include 500. So we have been asked to amend that so that it's consistent and includes the 500. So we just will, when we make that final draft or final version, we will be changing that line too, so that it aligns with the $500.
Thank you. Director Thorpe.
And just to clarify, that's going to say 500 and under.
Correct. It will include
Perfect.
500.
Just thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the question? Then all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? That is carried. 11.2 Policy and Governance Committee. We have 2 recommendations arising from that meeting. Director Bass, thank you. Director Sarai seconds. Any questions or comments on the Code of Conduct policy? All right, on the question then, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Second recommendation. Director Bass, thank you. Director Thorpe, thank you very much. Any questions or comments on this social media policy? Director Blackwell.
Yes, are we still using X?
Yes, through the chair, yes, we are, but limited, I believe. I'll find out from Colton and check with the board.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the social media policy? On the question, all those in favor?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? It's carried. We have 3 items of correspondence for information. Does anyone have any questions or comments on any of those information items? All right, we move on to new business. Do we have anyone with new business? Director Haughton, do you have your hand up? All right, so I have Director Haughton. I have Director Lepsoe. Who else? Bepple. Okay, so Director Haughton, Lepsoe, Bepple, and O'Reilly.
Thank you, Chair Roden. Just directed to Jamie. A few meetings ago, we talked about TNRD was going to be in discussion with City of Kamloops and others on possibly expanding or redoing our fire services area outside the corporate limits of the city, and maybe coming to an agreement where we can, I'll just use the example, the fringe areas in Knutsford, where we can include that with a contract with the city. Is there an update yet on where that's gone?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. Yes, we have been engaging with all of our member municipalities that we have agreements with, plus the city of Kamloops. Currently, we've undertaken a mapping exercise that we looked at potential areas that service could be provided from our perspective on an operational point of view. And next step in the discussion will be communicating that out to those municipalities for them to give us feedback on whether that's possible or not. So it's in the works, and we'll update the board as we go through that process.
Director Lepsoe.
Okay, thank you. And I actually had a piece of paper put in your folder. And it's just something I noticed is that SILGA asked us to try not to have too many similar resolutions. So when I talked to our staff, like our Village of Chase made this resolution and sent it directly to SILGA, but we don't actually share municipalities, is my understanding, our resolutions that might be similar before we send them to SILGA. So I just thought I would share what the Village of Chase did.
Thank you. Alternate Director Bepple.
Thanks. Just an update that there's upcoming FCM board meetings. And the week of February 3rd, I'll be part of BC Caucus, and then also anti-racism, inclusion, equity, and the finance, infrastructure, transportation committees. And then the week of March 18th to 20th, I'll be in Montreal, and I would expect at that time that it wasn't on the radar a year ago, but now I think with all of the tariffs, that will be a significant item on the agenda in terms of what local government should be doing and how we can support the whole current issues. In terms of the BC caucus specifically from TNRD and City of Kamloops, I'm taking forward issues relating to the RCMP in terms of operations and costs. And then another one that I'm not bringing forward, but I think it has been an ongoing issue, and I know it's an issue with the TNRD, is the cost of small water systems. So I expect that that will be discussed at the BC caucus as well.
Thank you for the update. And Director O'Reilly.
Thank you. Nothing too heavy, just Team BC in the Scotties Tournament of Hearts is represented from the City of Kamloops and the Brown Rink, and they have made the playoffs for the first time. This is their fourth time to the Scotties representing BC, and we did make it to the playoffs. We're playing right now, actually, and then we should hopefully take the win by Sunday is the hope. Yeah, and on top of all that, the skip, Corinne Brown, is pregnant as well. And so it's no small feat for anybody to do it, but we look forward to welcoming them home when they get back. Yeah.
And a new generation of curlers, Director Middleton just said so. And CAO Hildebrand.
Thank you. I thought through you, Chair, save you all an email. I just was in discussion with Mr. Davies, and to answer Director Blackwell's question, we still are using X, but we're also using the new Blue Sky as well. And we're looking into that. So I thought I'd save you all an email.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to raise under new business? No. Notice of motion, Director Thorpe.
Thank you, Chair Roden. I think everybody got their blue folders. In their blue folder, there should be a notice of motion. It's regarding the Lytton Library. Do you want me to read all of it or just the therefore?
I think just the therefore.
Okay. Therefore, be it resolved that staff be directed to research all options and opportunities for providing library service in the Lytton area on a permanent basis and bring a report to a committee of the whole meeting for consideration and discussion later this year. This research should include reviewing the feasibility of establishing a new library within Village of Lytton boundaries, investigating opportunities to establish library services in partnership with nonprofits and/or nearby First Nations, determining whether to continue with mobile library services only, and reviewing any and all options that may arise. Thank you.
Thank you, and that will be back before us at our next meeting. We move on to question period. Are there any questions from members of the public? No questions from members of the public. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. We will see everyone at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning for Committee of the Whole.